Durban is looking fantastic. The Garrick has already made its appearance. Hello and welcome to this week's Angler News KZN Fishing Report. I'm your host, Vinesh Sugreem. And KZN, what I can tell you is that there are some areas in our province over this past week that has been absolutely fantastic. And there are some where it's just been really quiet. And now that's due to the, inconsistency in weather patterns. We've had the South Coast where there's been a mixed bag of winds, where one day it's north, one day it's south, one day it's east, one day it's west. And anglers has been waiting for that 3 or 4 days of consistent easterly weather conditions. And we're going to get into this later on in the show with exactly what's been happening down the South Coast. And the North Coast has had some pretty big seas where there hasn't been much to report on. However, if you are looking to fish around Durban and the surrounding Durban areas, well, you are in for a treat, because in this week's show, we have got a lot of fish to brag about. As for the freshwater, bass, trout, and carp are still on the bite, and we're going to get into that later on with some excellent footage from Jan. But for now, let's kick off the show down the South Coast. Like I was saying, guys, it has been a mixed bag of weather conditions. There hasn't been too much to report on. It has been more on the quieter side. However, in saying that, there are some areas that have still produced a fair amount of fish, and that being the Caribbean estate, especially at night, the guys has been getting some decent carp of about 12 to 15 kilos. As for your Splash Rock, Shelley Beach area, that's been more on the quieter side. However, there has been some bream and rockard that's been on the bite, and there's been this rare catch of a blue spot kingfish. Now, that's not common down the South Coast, so very interesting times happening down there. There's also been the hound sharks that's been picking up anglers, but they have been really trying for this when the weather conditions permit it. So all in all, the fishing down the South Coast, not the greatest of fireworks. However, when the weather does permit it, go out there and try, because there has been the odd catches that's been coming out. However, from our reporters, what they have said is rather go and fish the rivers. That's where there has been more activity, and well, that's where the activity has been over the last few weeks. Now, moving on to Warner Beach and Amanzimtoti. Guys, what I can tell you is that the Stumpies and Pompano are still very much on the bite. And if you are looking for some shad action, well, that has definitely been bending rods down the South Coast. Reports of between 3 to 4 kilos has been on the bite. And if you are looking for that inedible action, there has been a few reports of grays, but that's mainly at night. Now, as we know, we are in May, and this is that time for Garrick season starting to be on the bite. So if you are targeting that big shad and putting out the smaller shad that come in between it as a live bait for that Garrick, your preferred areas are Ilova Flat, Karadine Corner, and Amgababa. That's where there's been activity of the shad, and as we know, Garrick is coming soon. Now, let's move on to Durban. As we all know, the talk of the town in Durban has been the Durban Skibout Festival, and you can catch this video very soon on our YouTube channel, so make sure to subscribe, because this is something you definitely want to see. Not only was it Kuta, it was a huge mixed bag of species that has come out, with over 200 boats competing, a ton of fish coming out, and big up to the winner of a Kuta being 27 kilos, Landon and his team. What an achievement. So yeah, we'll have the full rundown of this show and all that happened on our YouTube channel, so look out for that one. Now, as for the fishing in Durban, guys, there has been grunter, stumpies, cob, there's been shad, there has been the first Garrick that's come out. Yes, that is absolutely right. The first sign of the Garrick has come out at Blue Lagoon. So great catch to that angler that's got the fireworks for the season started. In the harbor, there's been reports of grunter. Guys, grunter. That's all I can say. There's been so much of grunter coming out, and nice sizes at that. We've got numerous reports of grunter averaging between 3 to 4 kilos. And if you are chasing some species on lure, you're going to go and target the Springer and the Kingfish. Kingfish has been definitely taken on the surface lure in the Durban harbor. Offshore side, guys, bottom fishing has been fantastic. The Kuta has been fantastic. There's been a few reports of prodigal sons that I've seen over this past week. And the snook is on the bite. So Durban is really performing right now. Now, and what about this, guys? This is where you get the freshest news. Brad has literally, in between my recording right now, has sent me this report of what's happening right now in Durban. This is Thursday morning, 10:40, and this report has come through. Dorado is still on the bite. I thought it was coming to the end of the season. I think it actually is. Dorado! Check out this content from Brad. It is incredible stuff.
Right, guys, here we are on Linsky Fishing Charters. Double up Dorados. Yeah, it is Dorado. Well done. Yeah. Check this one. Wow. Open. Stand up there, the microphone. Sorry. Oh, well, good morning, guys. Brad here, Linsky Fishing Charters. Fishing for the last week. Guys, the main target species we've had has been the snook and the cooter. But today we're out here, as you can see, the ocean nice and flat out there. And yeah, we managed to get 3 lovely jumping lesser green spotted Dorados. Nice big ones, all those 10 to 12 kilogram ones. Yeah, water temperature sitting at 24 degrees, 24.26 to be exact. Yeah, so we just stopped now for our first drop on our bottom reefs. And yeah, guys, thank you very much. Enjoy the show.
Now moving on to your Bolito Salt Rock area. What we can tell you is that the bronze bream are still very much there. There's been shad on the bite, and the guys are targeting that inedible action. So that's your Bolito Salt Rock area. Moving on to Mtenzini. It has been a bit of a wet weekend down at Mtenzini. Guys have struggled to launch, but those that did definitely got onto the fish. And although it was for a short period, there's been some good footage sent through from Nick with what the catches were. Apart from that offshore fishing, on the rock and surf side, there's been reports of cob and shad that's been on the bite, as well as your river action bringing in a variety of species. Now, moving on to Richards Bay. Guys, not too much fireworks coming out. The conditions has been really trying to get out there. Take a look at some of these visuals sent by Ali. She's really been struggling. However, the day that she did go out, they managed to catch some cooter on drift, as well as a beautiful bunny, or a few bunnies. But not too much reports coming out of Richards Bay this week. However, the weather is looking good for the weekend, and we are certainly looking forward to more reports next week. St. Lucia, cooter is still off the hook. Reports on a daily basis, guys. There has definitely been cooter on the bite. So once again, if you're heading up there this weekend, make sure to book a charter or go with your own boat. But definitely go offshore. There is certainly activity, and there's also been some reports of grunter and shad on your rock and surf side. So guys, that rounds off our saltwater report. Now moving on to the freshwater scene. Firstly, special thanks to Jan from the Kingfisher Pietermaritzburg for providing us with this excellent content of what's been going on. What we can tell you is that the fishing has been fantastic from the river and stillwater anglers. The water temperature has been more on the mid to the upper end, with a few fish stretching the scale to 58 centimeters. Now, these are taken on your bigger flies, being your woolly buggers, black and olive dragonflies, as well as those damselfly patterns. Your river anglers has been well spread around the brown river streams, and those being your Amgeni, Moy, and Bushman's rivers. Guys, remember, your trout river is going to close in a month's time. Yes, we are in May already, and that gives you just a small window to go and take advantage of that river action. Now, apart from that river action, there's been some really good scaly action. And as for the bass, Albert Falls, definitely the place to be. Great amount of fish coming out with a variety of patterns being used. I mean, the guys are catching fish on various lures, whether it's soft plastics, hard plastics, spinners, or chatterbaits. The report has come through with a variety of baits being used. As for Midma, there's been reports of carp, bass, and bluegill. So guys, that rounds off our KZN fishing report for this week. It hasn't been the greatest of weeks to report on your lower down south and upper north, but Durban has definitely produced the goods, and that's on all facets, whether you are fishing offshore or rock and surf, whether you are looking for that inedible or edible action, the fish is definitely on the bite. Now, The weather conditions for the lower south coast and upper north coast is looking really favorable for this weekend. So although it hasn't been the greatest weeks of fishing, it is looking quite good for this week. So get out there, and if you want a full report of what the conditions are looking like or what it's predicted to be, make sure to listen to our podcast channel. You can find this on any of your podcast channels that you listen to your stuff on, which could be your Deezer, Spotify, Google Pods, Apple Pods. And if not, if you are looking for that podcast, if you're not on any of these channels, find it on any of our social media pages. The links will be up there, and you will get a detailed report of what's going on the coastline. As for now, what we can tell you is that, guys, get out there and fish. KZN is looking good, as it always does. Durban is looking fantastic. The Garrick has already made its appearance. The shad is on the bite if you are looking for that inedible action. And there's some gray sharks at night. And as for the freshwater, like we said, the window is closing for the river action, and the bass is feeding really well, especially at Albert Falls. So KZN, get out there. So KZN, as we are at the dawn of the winter season, the fishing is bound to get better week by week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification button not to miss out on the latest updates within your fishing community. Guys, for Angling New South Africa, I am Vanessa Green. Always remember, keep your fishing area tidy, respect your bag limits, and fish for the future.